The Price of Looking Perfect, the Amanda Keller story. Amanda Keller had a system. To anyone else, it looked like indulgence, excess, maybe even recklessness. The kind of habit a husband mentions to his friends with a tight laugh, the kind of habit a sister brings up over wine when she thinks you're not listening. But to Amanda, it was strategy. She didn't just shop, she optimized. Every Saturday morning, like clockwork, she rotated through her sacred circuit. Neiman Marcus first, while her energy was highest and her eye was sharpest. Then Saks Fifth Avenue, because the new arrivals hit the floor on Friday nights and the racks were still full at 10 a.m. Nordstrom by lunch. They had the best return policy if she changed her mind, which she rarely did. Bloomingdale's after, for the brands the others didn't carry. And yes, even Macy's, when the sales aligned just right and the coupon stacking made the math irresistible. These weren't just stores to her. They were arenas. Hashtag. The game Amanda knew things. She knew which stores stacked discounts and which ones quietly killed the promo at the register. She knew that Nordstrom's anniversary sale required pre-shopping with a cardholder and that Saks's friends and family event always leaked to the regulars 3 days early. She knew when clearance hit an extra 30%, usually the second Tuesday of the month, never the first. She knew which associates would slip a piece into the back room with her name on a sticky note and which ones would whisper, "Come back Tuesday, prices drop again." She had favorites. Lorraine at Neiman's, who remembered her sizes without asking. Devin at Saks, who texted her when something arrived that he knew she'd love. They weren't friends, not exactly, but they were something. They greeted her by name. They poured her sparkling water. They told her she had an eye. And most importantly, she knew the magic phrase. "Would you like to open a store credit card today?" To most people, that question felt like a trap. A small humiliation, a nudge to be polite about declining. To Amanda, it was an opportunity. 10% off, 15, sometimes 20 off the first purchase, plus double points for the first 90 days, plus a welcome gift if you spent over $500. She did the math in her head while the associate was still typing. The card was free money. The card was a discount. She smiled every time. Of course. Hashtag the closet no one saw. From the outside, Amanda looked like she had it all together. Perfect outfits, always different, always current. The kind of woman other women noticed in the school pickup line and quietly resented. Her Instagram told a story of effortless elegance, coffee shop mirror selfies, brunch flat lays, a carousel from a girls' weekend in Charleston where every photo looked like a magazine spread. Effortless, that was the word. But behind the double doors of her custom walk-in closet, where the lighting was warm and the carpet was thick and no one but Amanda ever really went, it was chaos. Rows of dresses with the tags still hanging, pressed shoulder to shoulder so tightly the fabric had begun to wrinkle from the pressure. Shoes in their original boxes, stacked 5 high, some of them never touched pavement. Handbags wrapped in protective dust covers, sleeping inside other dust covers, tucked inside the shopping bags they came home in. Entire outfits she had only ever tried on once, in a fitting room mirror, under flattering lights, while an associate stood outside the door making approving sounds. She had a Burberry trench she'd worn twice, a pair of Aquazzura heels she'd worn to brunch and never again because they pinched, a cashmere sweater in oat that she loved so much she'd bought it in 3 other colors and worn none of them. Her husband, Daniel, stood in the doorway one evening, arms crossed, watching her hang up something new. You know what you should do. She didn't even look up. What? Go shopping in here. She laughed, dismissive, the kind of laugh that ends a conversation. Very funny. "I'm serious," he said. "You've got a boutique in this closet." She waved him off, sliding the new piece between 2 others that looked almost exactly like it. "It's not the same." He stood there a moment longer, then walked away. He always walked away. That, more than anything, should have told her something. Hash, hash. The numbers no one talked about. What Amanda didn't post online were the statements. 28.8% April, 28.99% April, 29% on the Macy's card she'd opened in 2019 and forgotten about until the late fee notice came certified mail. Intro rates that expired quietly and turned into monsters in the night. Cards from nearly every store she loved. Cards from stores she'd visited once on vacation. Cards she'd opened for a 20% discount on a single sweater and never used again because the credit limit was too low to bother with. Balances stacked on balances. A $4,200 here, an $8,600 there, a $2,300 that had once been $400 before 3 years of minimum payments and interest did its quiet, patient work. Transfers from one card to another, always chasing a 0% intro that lasted 12 months, sometimes 18. She kept a spreadsheet. She was organized about it. She told herself that was the same thing as being responsible. Minimum payments. Always the minimums. Just enough to keep the calls away. Just enough to keep the numbers technically current, even as they grew. Every few years, like a reset button, they refinanced the house, pulled equity, wiped out chunks of debt in one swift, clean motion that felt like deliverance, started fresh. And every time Amanda promised herself, this is the last time. It never was. Within 6 months, the balances would creep back. Within a year, they'd be where they started. Within 2, they'd be worse. She didn't know how it happened. That was the lie she told herself, and it was the lie that hurt the most. Because the truth was, she knew exactly how it happened. It happened one Saturday at a time. Hash, hash. The rule she refused. Daniel tried again one night, gentler this time. He'd been reading something. She could tell by the way he sat down across from her with a cup of tea instead of a beer, by the way his hands were folded. Let's make a deal. She sighed, already knowing where this was going. What now? For every new thing you bring in, sell 2 things. Amanda didn't even hesitate. No. Why not? Because I like what I buy. You don't even wear half of it. That's not the point. What is the point, Amanda? She didn't answer. She couldn't really, because the answer would have required her to look directly at something she had spent a long time learning not to look at. The point was the getting. The point was the small electric moment between wants and have. The moment at the register. The moment the bag was handed across the counter. The moment she set it on the passenger seat of her car and drove home with it like a passenger of its own. That moment was the only thing in her life that felt fully, uncomplicatedly good. The wearing was almost beside the point. But she couldn't say that out loud. Not to him. Not to herself. It's just clothes, Daniel. It's never just clothes. And that was the end of that conversation. Hash, hash. The moment everything broke. It happened on a Tuesday, fall collection launch. Amanda had been waiting for it for weeks, watching the previews drop on the brand websites, screenshotting things to a folder on her phone titled Fall. She'd taken a half day from work. She'd gotten her hair blown out the morning of. The barista at her coffee place had complimented her boots. She walked into Saks with purpose. A wreck caught her eye almost immediately. Rich tones, deep burgundies, and burnt umber. Perfect tailoring. This season's whole story laid out in 12 hangers. She felt the familiar lift in her chest, the one she'd been chasing all week. She gathered pieces quickly, efficiently, the way someone shops when they already know what they want. A blazer in the burgundy. 2 dresses, one she'd seen on the website, one she hadn't. Boots, low-heeled, and a leather so soft it felt like skin. A handbag she didn't need. It was almost identical to one she already owned in Oxblood, but she couldn't leave it. The hardware was different. The hardware was the whole point. At the counter, the associate smiled. New girl. Amanda didn't recognize her. You've got great taste. Amanda smiled back, the smile she'd practiced. I know. The associate began to ring her up. The total climbed past $2,800, past $3,100, past $3,400. Amanda didn't flinch. She never flinched at totals. Totals were just numbers, and numbers were just paperwork. Then came the question, would you like to apply for our store card today? You'll get 15% off everything. Amanda didn't hesitate. She couldn't even remember if she already had a Saks card. She probably did. It didn't matter. They just opened another one. Absolutely. She filled out the form like she had 100 times before. Confident. Automatic. Date of birth without thinking. Social without flinching. Income, she rounded up. She always rounded up, the associate typed. Paused, typed again. Then her smile changed, just slightly. A small adjustment at the corners. The kind of smile that wasn't a smile anymore, but was trying very hard to still look like one. Oh, I'm so sorry. Amanda blinked. What? It looks like the application wasn't approved. Silence. Not just the kind of silence that happens between two people, the kind that radiates, the kind that pulls a small bubble of attention toward itself in a busy department store. Amanda felt the woman behind her in line shift her weight. Amanda laughed, awkwardly, the wrong volume. That's not possible. I can try again later if you'd like. Sometimes the system. No, can you check it again? I did, ma'am, twice. I'm so sorry. Ma'am. The associate had called her ma'am. The associates in this store called her Mrs. Keller. They called her Amanda. They never called her ma'am. The pile of clothes sat there, stacked beside the register like evidence at a trial. Folded, pristine, tagged. Nearly $4,000 of fabric and leather waiting to find out if it had a home. Amanda's mind raced through options. Use her debit card? No, not enough in checking. Use her Visa? Was that one near the limit too? She couldn't remember. She genuinely couldn't remember. Try a different card from her wallet? But the woman behind her was watching now, and the associate's smile was getting more apologetic by the second. And there was a heat climbing up the back of Amanda's neck that she hadn't felt since she was a teenager. People were starting to look. You know what? Amanda said, voice too bright. I forgot. I have to be somewhere. Can you hold these for me? I'll come back. Of course, Mrs. Keller. We'll keep them right here for you. Now it was Mrs. Keller. She left her name. She left them at the counter. She walked, not fast, not slow, just walked, past the perfume counter and the shoe wall and the revolving glass doors that she had walked through 10,000 times before. For the first time in years, she walked out of a store empty-handed. She made it to her car before her hands started shaking. Hash, hash. The truth at home. That night, after Daniel was asleep, Amanda sat at the kitchen island with her laptop open and a glass of water she had not touched. She checked her credit. She expected a glitch, a mistake, some kind of identity theft thing that would be a nightmare to clean up, but would ultimately resolve. She'd seen the commercials. It happens to 1 in 3 Americans. She would call the number. She would file the report. The number didn't move. Low 400s. She stared at the screen. She refreshed it. She closed the tab and opened it again. She checked another app, one of those free ones with a cartoon mascot, and got the same number, give or take 20 points, still in the same desert. Her chest tightened in a way she had not felt before. Not quite a panic attack, something quieter. Something that felt more like a slow inventory of every small thing she had been pretending not to know. The unopened envelopes in the drawer of her vanity. She'd known what they were. She'd been throwing them in there for months. The voicemail she'd been deleting without listening to. Unknown caller. no caller ID, number not in your contacts. The way she had stopped opening her credit card apps and, for almost a year now, only checked her checking account because checking was a number she could still bear to look at. Then, as if summoned, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She didn't answer. It went to voicemail. Please contact us regarding your account. It buzzed again 4 minutes later. Different unknown number. This is an attempt to collect a debt. Any information obtained. She turned the phone face down. Then she turned it off. She didn't sleep that night. She sat on the couch in the dark with the laptop closed on her thighs and watched the clock on the cable box go from 11:47 to 1:14 to 3:02 to 4:30, and she did not cry exactly, but at some point her face was wet, and at some point she stopped wiping it. #. Breaking point. The next morning, Daniel found her at the kitchen table. She hadn't moved. She'd make coffee at some point. The pot was full and cold, and she had the laptop open in front of her and a notepad beside it with nothing written on it yet, just a pen lying across the top line like a body. He stopped in the doorway. He took her in. Same clothes as last night. Hair flat on one side. He didn't say anything. He just sat down across from her. She didn't look up. "I think I messed up," she said. It was the first time she had ever said it out loud. He reached across the table and took her hand, the one that wasn't holding the pen. "Okay," he said. Just that. Okay. And the way he said it, not surprised, not angry, not vindicated, just okay, like a man who had been waiting a long time for a door to open, was the thing that finally made her cry properly. He didn't say, "I told you so." He never said it. Not once. Not in all the years that followed. That was, she would later think, the single most generous thing anyone had ever done for her. #. The climb back. It wasn't quick. It wasn't easy. And it definitely wasn't glamorous. Amanda met with a credit counselor, a woman named Patricia, who worked out of a strip mall office between a tax preparer and a nail salon, who wore reading glasses on a beaded chain and did not, at any point, make Amanda feel like a stupid person. Amanda laid everything out, every card, every balance, every mistake. She'd printed it all the night before, 23 pages stapled in the corner. When Patricia took the stack and didn't react, didn't sigh, didn't widen her eyes, Amanda almost cried again. "This is not the worst I've seen this week," Patricia said, flipping through. "This isn't even the worst I've seen this morning." "That's somehow not as comforting as I think you mean it to be." "It's meant to be honest. Honest is what works here." They built a plan. Patricia called it the snowball and explained it like she'd explained it 1,000 times before, because she had. Start with the smallest balance, pay it off completely, roll that payment into the next one, repeat. The math wasn't optional, the avalanche method, going by interest rate would save more. But Patricia had learned over 30 years that math wasn't actually the problem. Momentum was the problem. People needed wins. People needed to feel something close. Amanda picked the smallest, a Banana Republic card, $312. She paid it off in 2 weeks. She stared at the $0 on her screen for a long time. It looked impossible. It looked like a typo. She took a screenshot. She didn't know why. Then she rolled that payment into the next one, and the next, and the next, for months, then years. But Amanda had to do something harder than budgeting. Budgeting was just spreadsheets. Anyone could do spreadsheets. She had to change who she was. #, withdrawal. The first time she walked past a sale sign and kept going, it felt wrong. It felt physically wrong, like missing a turn she'd taken every day for a decade. Her body wanted to peel off the sidewalk and through the door. Her hand twitched toward the handle. She had to remind herself, out loud, not today, like she was talking to a dog. The first time she said no to a new outfit, it felt like loss, real loss, the kind that makes you go quiet at dinner. She had not understood before how much of her sense of the future being okay had been propped up by the existence of a new dress in a bag in the trunk of her car. Without that, the future was just the future, plain, unstructured. She picked up a book. She tried to read it. She couldn't focus. She put it down. She picked it up again the next night. She made it through 3 pages. The night after that, 10. At the end of the first month, she had read an entire book, the first one, cover to cover, since college. It wasn't even a good book, but she had finished it, and she had not bought anything that month except groceries and gas, and she went to bed both nights of that weekend and did not lie awake. But slowly, something shifted. Not a single moment, not a montage. Just a slow, dull, unromantic accumulation of choices, 90% of them boring. The kind of work that doesn't make a good story, which is exactly why it's the kind of work that actually changes a person. The new routine. Instead of malls, she went to the gym. Not a fancy one, a community rec center with a flickering fluorescent over the squat rack and a treadmill that beeped wrong. She hated it for 3 weeks. Then she didn't. Instead of browsing racks, she learned how to cook. Real cooking, not the assembly of pre-prepped ingredients she'd been calling cooking for 15 years. She bought a knife, one knife, and learned to use it properly. She learned how a stock was different from a broth. She learned that a roast chicken, done right, was one of the cheapest, most beautiful meals a person could put on a table. Instead of chasing compliments, she built discipline. Quietly. With nobody watching, which was the hardest part, because Amanda had never done anything in her life without somebody watching. Weight started to come off. Not because she was trying, she wasn't particularly, but because she was eating food she'd cooked herself and walking to the rec center 4 times a week and not stress eating in the parking lot of a Nordstrom because she was avoiding going home. Her energy changed. She slept. She slept through the night sometimes, which she had not done with any regularity since her 20s. Her confidence changed too, but it was different. Not the bright, brittle confidence of being well-dressed, a quieter one. The kind that came from knowing what was in her checking account without having to look. The kind that came from the small daily fact of not being afraid of her own mailbox. Not worn. Earned. #. The Closet Revisited. One day, almost a year in, Amanda walked back into her closet, really walked into it, not just to grab something, and she stood there for a long time. Same clothes, same tags, same dust covers and stacked boxes, but she saw them differently. Not as opportunity, not as inventory, not as the soft, sleeping promise of future Amanda will be the kind of woman who wears this. As evidence of a person she didn't entirely want to be anymore. She didn't burn it down. She didn't have a dramatic purge. She wasn't that kind of person, even now. She started instead with one rack. She listed 12 pieces online, the easy ones, the ones with the tags still on, the ones that were obviously worth what she was asking. They sold in 2 weeks. She used the money to pay down a balance. The next month, she did another rack, then another. She started bringing things to a consignment shop, the kind with a snobby owner and a 60-40 split that wasn't in her favor. She didn't argue about the split. The point wasn't the money, or wasn't only the money. The point was the leaving. The point was watching the dresses go through the door in someone else's hands. And for the first time, she didn't replace them. Empty hangers, at first, looked like failure to her, like a closet that had given up. After a while, they started to look like room to breathe. #. The shift in beauty. Amanda used to believe beauty came from presentation, from the surface, from the right cut, the right color, the right shoes pulling the right outfit together at the right brunch. Now she understood. It came from stability, from self-control, from the long, unsexy practice of doing what you said you'd do, from waking up without the small, sour dread of a phone call, an envelope, a number on a screen, from looking at her husband across a kitchen island where there were no unopened envelopes anymore, and knowing they were building something real, knowing she had stopped, finally, drilling holes in it, ##. The marriage, Daniel noticed it before she did. "You're different," he said one night. They were on the back porch. He had a beer. She had a glass of water with lemon. He had stopped, at some point, opening a beer for her without thinking. Amanda smiled. "I feel different." "You're happier." She thought about it. She used to claim she was happy when she wasn't, and the claiming had been so practiced and reflexive that she genuinely confused it with the thing itself. "I'm free," she said. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he reached over and put his hand on her knee and left it there, and they watched the dark come in over the yard, and it was the most ordinary night of her adult life, and she would remember it in detail for the rest of it. ##. The ending that wasn't bought. Years later, the debt was gone. Not refinanced, not transferred, not consolidated, juggled, deferred, or rolled into the mortgage like a body into a rug. Gone. The last balance, a Capital One card of all things, the original number she'd opened in college, paid off on a Wednesday afternoon while she was on hold with the dentist's office. She didn't even cry. She just sat there for a second, feeling the absence of something she had carried for so long she'd stopped noticing the weight of it. Her credit recovered, slowly and then more quickly, the way these things go. Eventually a number that, by every measurable standard, made her a person banks were eager to lend money to. She didn't take it. She still dressed well. That part of her hadn't gone away, and she didn't want it to. She still cared about a good cut, a clean line, a piece that lasted. She bought, by her old standards, almost nothing, 3 or 4 pieces a season maybe, all of them chosen carefully, all of them worn until she was sick of them, and then a little while longer. But it wasn't armor anymore. It was just clothing. ##, final line, Amanda Keller once believed confidence could be purchased, that it came in a bag with tissue paper on a Saturday morning with a 15% discount and a free pair of socks above $200. Now she knew the most beautiful thing she could ever wear was control, and that couldn't be bought anywhere.